Welcome to week 10 of rerouting and our second to last deeper dive video. It's wild, pretty wild, that we have been meeting for 10 weeks, that we've come all this way, which is why, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. It would be such a shame if after all of this, we don't make a real response. I know I've used the example a lot, but it's helpful. Imagine that you spent 10 weeks going to lessons and discussions on dieting and exercise because you wanted to get in shape, and then all of a sudden, after all of it, you didn't actually diet or exercise. It's like same thing here. Don't let these weeks be for nothing. The reason this decision that we need to make to respond to the Lord is so important is because of what I was talking about on Sunday. I brought up the story of the man from China again, this time to make a different point. That in a certain sense, it is actually easier to live the faith in communist China than it is to live the faith here. Because in China, you have to make this decision every day. A life or death decision every day. But here it's pretty easy to never make a decision, ever. And when we don't make a decision, it's not just that we aren't following our religion, we're missing out on the single greatest adventure in the world, the fullest life possible. So today, I want to dive a little deeper into two topics, both concerning this decision of faith. First, we want to discuss the gap that often exists between what I call my real life and the faith. I know I've talked about this before, but at this point in rerouting, this is where this concept fits in. This is the gap that leads so many to never truly live or to experience what the faith is promising. The second topic, it's a simple question, but it's going to be a fundamental question, and it'll stay with us, I hope. Do you believe it is the Father who will fulfill you? Do you truly believe that God Himself will fulfill you? This is the question that gets to the heart of the matter because it forces us to take a look at our life and the decisions we make, as well as how we view the teachings and the morals given by the church. And we'll get into that. So in both of these, I hope that the path to the newness and the freshness in life we seek, each one of us seeks, it begins to become more clear. So first, this gap between my real life and my faith life. I've shared many times, probably too many times, I was raised in a super Catholic household, super Catholic to the max. So much so that my life was pretty much indistinguishable from my faith. And the faith was indistinguishable from my life. They were just one and the same. During high school, I felt this call to be a priest. And so with an upbringing like mine, a resume like mine, you would probably expect, well, man, it'd be pretty easy for that guy to enter seminary, make that decision to enter seminary, to become a priest. And yet, I fought against that more than any other decision in my life. Why? I was a good kid, did all the Catholic stuff. Why was it so hard to go to seminary, to become a priest? Well, as I later pieced together, it was difficult because I'd been doing everything backward. I had started by trying to answer the question, can I promise obedience to a bishop and never make my own career decisions again? Can I promise to live a life of celibacy and give up a wife and children? Can I do all the priest stuff and find joy in that? And to be sure, those are some important questions, but those are secondary questions. They're secondary. The primary question, the question I had never faced, the problem that I was confronting, I had to first face the issue of faith. Faith, like true faith. Faith as entrusting myself, entrusting my life to another. Faith up to this point was just things that I did in my life. Mass, confession, rosary, fasting, tithing, serve the poor, on and on. All the Catholic stuff. The faith was just the rules I had to follow and the teachings I had to believe. And all good things, all important things. But the problem, I had not yet confronted the true question of faith. What I mean is this. Many of us engage our faith like a country club membership or a gym membership. Oh yeah, I belong to the Catholic Church. Then it's just one more thing. But faith, at its foundation, at its core, like we've been talking, faith is entrusting. It's surrendering. And this is the question I had not faced. The Catholic thing, discipleship, following Jesus. This was all fine and good until the Catholic thing all of a sudden required my whole life. So here's the thing. When I felt the call to priesthood, everything became difficult because all of a sudden, my faith required me to entrust my life, my whole life to God in faith. Following Christ, so it was easy when it didn't cost me anything. Calling myself Catholic is easy when nothing's really required of me but going to Mass or something. But when it does require something of me, when all of a sudden I have to entrust my life, my whole life, every part of my life, that's a whole different game. And in order to do that, the primary question, number one, it's faith. I hope that makes sense. Because it's easy to say, I believe in God, I'm a Catholic, I'm a Christian. It's easy to do the Catholic things. But a life of faith, living faith, it means entrusting something which is very valuable to you. Entrusting that to God. So in this case, it means entrusting your life, your heart, your mind, everything to Him. That's what the disciples realized Jesus is driving at. And that's why they would ask Him on the regular to increase their faith. I like to use the example of Rohan Davey. Rohan Davey was an NFL quarterback. He won 2 Super Bowls, 2004 and 2005. In fact, Rohan Davey won 2 Super Bowls with the New England Patriots. Impressive, right? Well, not really, because Rohan, he didn't actually play. He was the backup to Tom Brady. In fact, Rohan only played in a grand total of 4 games in those years. Only completed 4 passes in those 4 games. That's it. We've never heard of this guy. Why? Because we were all paying attention to Tom. Tom was the hero. Tom was making the plays. Tom was great. But to be sure, Rohan wasn't a scrub. He made it to the NFL as a quarterback. That makes him top 1.00001% of all football players. And yet, we look at him like a scrub, bottom of the barrel. No one wanted to wear his jersey. No one was like, man, I would really want to be like Rohan when I grow up. So do you think it was Rohan Davey's goal just to make the team so that he could sit on the bench the whole time? Again, to be sure, it's an incredible achievement. Make it to the NFL. But do you think that the bare minimum on the team made it, do you think that was super satisfying, fulfilling? The point's this. We want more than the bare minimum. The bare minimum of being a Catholic is like go to Mass on Sundays, put some money in the collection, only eat fish on Fridays, lest you forget. But is that really what Jesus was saying when He asked people and called people, come follow me? Are you a bare minimum kind of disciple? Is that the goal? Is being Rohan Davey the goal? Or are you going to be an on fire, all in, 100% sort of a disciple? Do you entrust everything in your life to Jesus? Do you entrust your marriage to Him, your time, your priorities, your money, your fertility, your career decisions, your choice of entertainment, everything? Complete surrender, entrusting everything to Him. That's what Jesus wants, because that's where He can give you everything in return. What I discovered over several years, just again in my own struggle to entrust my life to Jesus, my whole life, all of my plans, all of my dreams, all my time and energy, what I discovered is that even though I was following the bare minimums at least, I was even doing a little extra. I discovered that I still had faith only in myself. Again, I did all the Catholic things, believed 100% of the Catholic beliefs, but I did not entrust myself, my life to God, in concrete ways. I had very little faith in Him and a whole bunch of faith in myself. I had faith only in what I could do for myself, provide for myself. This is what needed to change. Okay? And when it did, everything changed for me. But that leads to a second fundamental issue. Why would you entrust your life to someone unless you believed they could actually fulfill you? Like when my car's broken, I don't drop it off at Dairy Queen. No offense, Bill. I take it to Chris over at Jones. I entrust my car to someone that can fix it, restore it. The fundamental question, the existential question we have to grapple with is this. Do you believe it is the Father who will fulfill you? Do you truly believe that God himself will fulfill you. I was back in my alma mater once, giving a retreat to the seminarians there, and I centered a lot of my talks on this, the topic of faith, what faith truly is, how the faith and our real life have to be connected, how that takes a lot of very intentional work. And so I did a whole morning on how faith, before it's any of those things we believe, any of the things we do, faith is that entrusting of yourself to a person, surrendering your life into the hands of another. And the reason I did this is because most of us, and I can say this about myself first and foremost, most of us have faith only in ourselves. Sure, we go to Mass, we say some prayers, we try to avoid sin, but we're still trying to follow our own path, to live life according to our own design, our own plans. Then we just kind of like sprinkle the faith stuff on top. So between the talks, the seminarians, they would come and talk to me individually, and over, their questions kept coming back to the same version of this. Like, I want to do what God wants me to do, but I also want to follow my own plan for my life. How can I have both, Father? Now, they wouldn't say that exactly, but over and over, it kept boiling down to that. How can I have it both ways? And so at the last conference, I just ditched the beautiful talk. It was beautiful. Ditched that one, and instead, I proposed one simple question to them and just spent some time exploring this one question. I asked them, do you believe it is the Father who will fulfill you? That's it. Like, it's that simple. It boils down to that. Do you believe? Do you trust? Do you have faith that it's the Father who will fulfill you? And don't just give me the right answer. I was telling them, like, actually think. Examine yourself. Ask yourself, do I actually believe that? Do I actually believe it's the Father who will fulfill me? Or do I believe that I have to do it all myself, and then one day, if I did some Catholic stuff too, I can go to heaven when I'm dead? Have you ever wondered why Jesus was so willing and ready to go to his own death? Well, Jesus' path, his design for his life, his plan for his life, Jesus' path is the one given to him by the Father. Jesus' entire life, everything he does, every action, it's not his own. It's not his plan. It's his Father's. And even though he knows that his Father's plan for him is to suffer many things and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, the scribes, be killed, even though that's the path, the plan of the Father, he willingly and completely and totally entrusts himself to it. Why? Because he believes, at the deepest core of everything, he believes it's the Father who will fulfill. At the end of the day, we either trust in ourselves and our own designs and our own plans, or we trust in God. We either believe fulfillment comes from us or the Father. There's no both. Like, do you believe it's the Father who will fulfill you? Or do you believe that your fulfillment can only come from yourself and what you can do for yourself and what you can provide and give to yourself? This is what it means to be rerouted. It means that I've come to the realization that my fulfillment and happiness, that all good things come from God. And having realized this, I make a profound shift in how I view the world, how I view myself, everything. Everything changes. But if we answer that question honestly right now, if we answer the question, do I believe it's the Father who fulfills me? Based off our own experience, many of us would say, well, it seems like if anything's going to happen in my life, I have to do it. I've had to work for everything I have. God seems pretty uninvolved. Okay, but when this is the way that we see the world, that's when this faith business takes on a very specific flavor. And it's often people's first and lasting impression of the faith. There are just so many rules. That's it. There's so many rules. There's so many things I have to do. And it's just a huge imposition. It's an imposition. That's all it is, faith is. An imposition on my life and my plans and my designs. But that's not it. Not at all. Remember, faith is entrusting yourself to another. Entrusting yourself to them because you have the faith, you trust, that they or what they're saying can give you this newness in life you cannot give yourself. Faith is a clarification of the path that leads to this, not the imposition of something to kill our fun. Each and every one of us, whether we have recognized it yet or not, each and every one of us is looking for like healing or a cure, salvation. And I don't like those words because they sound so religious and clinical and churchy. So we're going to use a different word, and the word is newness. It's a good word to use for all of this. Every one of us is looking for newness, a newness of life, something that isn't the same old, that doesn't seem to change anything. We want something that gives life a newness. And this newness is available, but only through Christ. Only through entrusting yourself, your life, every part of your life to Him. When I was speaking to the seminarians, I shared with them many of the stories I've shared with y'all. Stories of the incredible fulfillment and joy that I've experienced because I've entrusted my life to Him. Stories of how others have experienced intense joy and intense newness of life when they have, and also intense dissatisfaction and despair when they haven't. And I can tell these stories all day, but truly, the only way to know this, to experience this, is by doing it yourself. Like I can't magically impart what entrusting my life has done. The answer is faith. To entrust our lives and our plans to another, to the only one who has ever given us reason to believe that there is something more than all of this. Do you believe it's the Father who will fulfill you? Or do you believe you have to just try to do it all yourself? As we begin to prepare for Holy Week, we prepare to celebrate the Paschal Mystery, Christ's act of totally entrusting Himself to the Father. So during this week, through Him, with Him, and in Him, during this week, let's try a little bit better this year to entrust our entire life to the Father and His designs and plans along with Jesus. Like Jesus, let's walk the path given to us by the Father. Let's be rerouted back to Him. Why? Well, because it's the Father that will fulfill.